Hello everybody, Jeff here from LearnPortraitDrawing.com, and today's video we are going to watch how I drew portrait number 4. This one was really fun to draw, took me a little while to do, but I just want to give you a heads up on this video. About the first 2 hours of it, it's all in real time. I think that's the most important part when watching these videos and trying to learn and just trying to absorb the moment of what I was feeling. The first 1 to 2 hours is always the most important, so I leave that intact, unedited, for your viewing pleasure, and then the last part of the video I sort of speed up and time lapse. Not too fast, probably only about 10% faster than I normally am drawing, but it helps speed up the video when I'm doing the little tiny details, things that would just probably otherwise bore you. So before we get into the video, I just want to say, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, and also make sure you turn on the little bell notification and give this video a thumbs up for me. The more thumbs up we get, the more it tells YouTube, hey, we like this stuff, let's recommend it to others, and let's spread the love. So with that being said, let's get into watching how I drew portrait number 4. Okay, how are we all doing today? Thank you for joining me on this wonderful day. And we are going to try and draw this guy. I just like the way his profile is, so we are going to see what we can do with this picture. As always, if you have any questions about anything you see in this video, just please leave me a comment. I respond to every one of them. And if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe to this channel. What I try and do is describe my thought process as I draw these videos, because one of the things I enjoy doing when I watch YouTube, when I sign in the morning, is I like finding real-time videos. Here we go. I like looking up real-time videos of people drawing. If I find it very relaxing, I find it fascinating to watch, to see the choices that people make, and following along in my head, asking myself questions. Would I do that the same way? Oh wow, that was interesting how that happened. Things of that nature. So right now what I'm trying to do is establish where, the overall composition. Where do I want the top of the drawing to be, and where do I think maybe the chin is? So if I think the chin's going to be here, and I'm going to determine, okay, well, if the chin's here and that's the top, how big do I want the face, and where is the hair going to be? So I'm going to say the face, I'll probably be out right in this area right in here. Let's just say this is the hairline. And at this stage, I'm just guessing. I find that I enjoy the drawing process better if I think of it as just guessing. It doesn't have to be set in stone at this point. And the very long face, I don't want to go too wide because it'll make him look less, if you go too wide, it'll round out his face. So I'm just going to draw down, make it sort of like a big blocky shape at this point. See how loose I am? I'm just trying to be loose. I'm just trying to get an overall shape on the page. Okay. So, overall shape. I'm good with that. Again, no measuring at this point. I'm just guessing. I'm just going to say the brow line. Let's say the brow line's here. Should put the eyes in here somewhere. Oops. That's a good thing about using this soft fine charcoal, is you literally can erase it with your fingers. Okay, nose is, looks like, again, I'm not measuring, so it almost looks like it's probably a little lower than center from the top to here, probably about somewhere in here, maybe. Mouth. It just states somewhere in here. So at this point, again, this is all just me doing rough placements. And just guessing. Moving the mouth up just a little bit. And, yeah. This is all going to be, facial hair is all going to be down in this area. I'm not putting in any details at this point. This is just me putting down information on the page just to see kind of how it's going to look. Making sure I feel okay with the rough proportions. And he's looking straight on at the camera, so I'm just gonna indicate a nose here. Again, if this is going to be the brow line up here, normally I don't draw this much with Vine charcoal, but I'm just kind of going with it at this stage, just seeing what I can do because it is so light. A lot of people, I notice, well, there's obviously different ways, you know, different styles people use to draw. Some people like to use Vine charcoal on the entire drawing. The reason why I don't really like that is because it is very soft, and one accidental smudge like this and you can just completely mess yourself up. So I just like using this during this phase of planning things out. And then I usually switch to a charcoal pencil. So I'm just kind of imagining here, trying to draw, you know, maybe where the eye socket's going to be somewhere in this area. You know, the eyes will be in here somewhere. Just roughly guessing somewhere. Asking myself, does that look about right? If the eyes are there. And again, notice I haven't done any measurements yet. This is just laying out, you know, does the face look too wide? Does it not look wide enough. All these little things going through my head. And I think I'm just going to continue going with it. So I'm using my finger and kind of softening out things a little bit. This just gives me a rough guideline that I can now adjust as I need to. So the eye socket will be in here, eye socket in here, nose, nose, mouth will be in this area, the dark eyebrows up in here. And you can kind of see just by doing that, you kind of have a rough layout. Kind of imagining, letting your imagination kind of look at the picture, look at your drawing, analyze if things look in the right position. And by the way, if anybody has any questions or stuff, leave me a comment. If you want to know what materials I'm using, excuse me, I have a link. I got everything off Amazon, so there's a link in the description of this if you care to see what I got. So I'm just going to take some rough measurements here. I like to compare the, let's lock in something first. Let's lock in where we definitely want the eyebrows. So I'm going to say looking at the picture, and I'm going to say I want this part right here, where the eyebrow, the top of the eyebrow looks like it comes this way. And then I'm going to say it goes over to the side plane of the head over here. Alright, so I'm just fixing a point on my little rough sketch to just lock it in and say this is what I want. And then I'm going to base everything else off that. Okay? So let me just go with it. I don't know if I've ever locked in an eyebrow to start, but that's what I'm doing here, and we're going to see how it goes. So if I'm saying that's the eyebrow, I'm going to take a measurement with my pencil to the hairline, and I'm going to lower it down from that same point . Alright, well before I do that, let me not get too carried away here. I'm trying to look at the little shapes inside. And I'm just going to draw out where I think the eye is. I'm looking at the space between the top of the eyebrow and the fold of the eyelid. It makes, if you look at the picture, kind of makes this sort of shape. And it comes up. Eye comes up here. I might be making the eyes a little too big, but I'm not sure. At this stage, I am not sure. So I just kind of laying down pencil marks, going with the flow. And all this is probably going to change. I find it usually does. And I'm looking inside the eye. I'm trying to analyze how much, what the shape of the eye is based on the amount of white in the eye that I see. There's a tear duct right in here. And I'm going to, I keep debating if I should zoom in or not, or let you see the overall picture. It looks like there's about the same amount of space on either side as far as the white of the eye is concerned, so I'm kind of keeping that in mind. If there's this much space here, then try and keep about the same amount of space on this side. Alright, so we'll just say that's an eye. Notice there's not a whole lot of measuring here or confidence at this point. And I don't know if we can really see, you can't really see any pupil, but it's in here somewhere. So I'll just draw it in. It's all going to obviously be smudged and rubbed out and everything. Alright, so we got that. Let's move over to the other eye maybe, just to get something in. So this is where I start trying to think to myself, how far away is everything? Make sure that we, everything's in proportion. If we're locking this in, if this is going to be what we're saying is the eye. Let me put this underneath here. This little shape, this Nike swoosh. Okay. So, one of the things I'm going to pay attention to is where the nose is in comparison to the eye. What angle does this fall? But I don't know if I want to do that necessarily yet, or if I want to go to the other eye. Maybe I'll go with the other eye, just because as human beings, we tend to lock in on that. We tend to focus on the eyes. So I'm going to take a rough measurement. Yeah, the eye is just about normal as far as, an eye width apart. He seems to follow that same standard. So I'm just going to kind of indicate this other area where the top of the nose is. I'm also not doing really hard lines at this point. I'm just using my 4B pencil and lightly, very, very lightly, just starting to put in these values. Now it looks like his eyebrows are pretty symmetrical as far as where they are in relation to the other side of his face, so I'm just going to kind of do this sort of thing and kind of keep them about the same size just for now. Obviously this is all going to be adjusted as the drawing goes on, but just going to put in something here, just so we have something for our eyes to have as a placeholder for what we're working with. So if this is going to be the corner of the eye, then it looks like the upper eyelid is starting in even more right up in this area, and it makes that little triangle right up in here, comes right up, almost touches, right, and then it kind of swoops on over, and I'm looking at this space here from the eyebrow to the top of the eyelid, and I'm looking at that angle that it slowly gets bigger as it heads down to this side before it kind of just curves down, something like that. Again, we'll adjust it. That looks really big, but I think once we get the eye in here. So again, the eye kind of just goes up. Looks like it. Again, I'm trying to look at the space between the eye and the eyelid. It looks like it's a very shallow angle. And from the tear duct, I usually just kind of come out. Again, I'm trying to look at the space now, the white of the eye. Let's see, he's got the tear ducts in here. So that's a little lighter, darker in color. Then he's got the eye, which there's not a whole lot of white here. So it kind of makes this sort of shape. And then it looks like it comes at an angle, like down, right? You see that? And then there's not a whole lot on this side either. Very little on this side. And again, I can't really see too much of a pupil, but I'm just going to draw something in here, and I'm going to shade it. This is all going to be blended, so again, I'm not drawing anything too dark. Nothing's exactly locked in. Now remember, at this stage, it would be nice if I can get something that kind of looks like him, but that's not exactly what I'm going for yet. I'm just trying to get features in the right place. You know, if I drew a nose right here, that would look very silly. So you're just using your intuition and your brain to kind of guess where the best spots are to put these things. So I'm going to hold my hand out to the pencil, hold my hand out to the pencil. I'm going to hold my pencil out with my hand, and I'm trying to take a measurement of where the side of the nose is going to be. So it looks like if I were to drop a line straight down from here, it's just about right in the same spot. So I'm going to draw just a little line, like maybe something like this. Now that just tells me this angle. I need to find out this angle. How far down does it go? So I'm going to go from maybe this part of the eye and do a measurement and see where the side of the nose and that intersects. It's sort of at this, I think we're probably in about the right spot. But this would be the side of the nose. And again, we'll see. We'll see if that's about right. Usually I just take my pencil, maintain that angle, bring it over to the picture. It's about right. I'm guessing it's about right. Let's just put it that way. Check the other side of the nostril. The outer side of the nostril is actually not on the edge. It's probably, oops, dropped my pencil. The outer side looks like it's about right, just slightly in. So I'm going to say that's the outer side of the nostril. Just slightly in by very, very tiny bit. Okay. And then it also looks like the nose kind of comes down a little bit. The nostrils kind of make this, I'm drawing really light by the way. Kind of comes down just below the sides. Let me check the angle of the other eye here. That's probably about right. That this is the bottom of the nostril. It's going to come up this way, come down, and again, we will adjust all of this stuff. I'm not pressing too hard. I'm just trying to get where the features are. Now, it looks like, and you can tell me if I'm wrong in the comments, it almost looks like this side of the nose is slightly higher, that there's just a very, very slight angle. That's what I'm seeing here on this, and my brain is telling me that's probably true on the picture, but I'm not sure. So this is going to be the ball of the nose right in here. Sometimes I don't always draw like this where I draw marks, but just so you can kind of see what my brain is thinking. There's a ball right here. So when I draw noses, I think of this ball, right? Just like there's one right here for the side of the nostril, and this also makes one. So you can kind of see, even by me just drawing that little circle, how it almost made the nose look a little bit more three-dimensional. Okay. Now under this eye, we have to put in the little Nike swoosh. Okay. And now I should probably just establish where I think the sides of the face are. And I'm looking at the eyebrows to the hairline on the side plane, just to make sure, you know, again, I'm trying to lock this in, these proportions. Now, one of my big problems is going to be how far down am I going to put the mouth. So I'm just laying some initial shading down here. So if that's the nose, let me see if I can sort of guess how big the philtrum is, which is the space between the top lip and the nose. It's very hard for me to say. I'm going to look at my reference drawing and see if I can find something that I already drew to simulate how far it is. So let me try the width of an eye and compare that. Oh, that's way too long. A width of an eye is almost the whole length of the top to like the bottom lip. Yeah. So I guess I'm sort of similar in what I guess. You can kind of see my drawing underneath. I'm just going to guess right now. I'm going to guess that it comes to about, the mustache comes down to about this area right here. Okay, let's just guess. Again, when you just tell yourself you're guessing, you kind of take the pressure off yourself, and that's a good thing. So if that's going to be the top where the mustache goes to and where the lip starts, then how big is that upper lip? I'm just going to guess it's this little space right here. Might be too big, but I guess we'll correct that as we go. And then it comes out, and it comes out. Now, how far does it come out? I'm looking at the mouth now, where the top lip meets the bottom lip, and I'm trying to look at it, the angle from the nostril to the corner of the mouth, somewhere out in this area. Alright, so I'm going to say it comes up to about here. This is where the upper lip kind of starts. I'm looking at where this curve kind of falls in relation to the nostril. Kind of looks like it goes up as the nostril goes up. Comes back down. Probably to about right where I have it. Okay. Bottom lip, I'm going to say is right in this area. Okay. This is obviously all going to be facial hair. I'm just going to kind of lightly draw it in at this stage just to give me, again, an idea. Comes out here. And let me know if you guys like this format of me keeping the camera fixed in this one spot, or if you want me to actually zoom in on these features as I'm drawing them. I don't have the best camera. That's one of the reasons why I'm really hoping I get a lot of subscribers, that this channel takes off, that YouTube recognizes the value of these videos, recommends them to people, because as it gets bigger, I'm going to be really motivated to invest in a better camera. This camera, God, I don't even know how many years it is. It's pretty old. It's pretty old. And my lighting isn't the best, so I do apologize. Definitely isn't as, you know, my setup isn't as great as a lot of other great artists on YouTube, but I'm hoping that my content is equally valuable, that people find this worthy of watching, and then as the channel grows, I can go ahead and upgrade a lot of things and do more with it. Okay, so we're slowly getting a little face here, aren't we? So I think the eyes, I don't know, the eyes feel pretty big to me. Again, I'm going by feel at this point. I'm not trying to think too much about it. So let me just take some more measurements here. If I do the bottom of the nose to sort of the top of the eyebrows, that's the same as the chin to the top of the mouth. So that's about the same as the chin to the top of the mouth, which is kind of where I had it. Okay. And I'm trying to keep myself back a little bit and looking at the overall picture. This side of the beard is going to be a lot darker up in this area. I might have to make the eyes a little more squinty. I mean, the pupil looks the eyes just look very big to me. What do you think? Leave me a comment if you think the eyes look too big. And I just mean like this overall placement. But they could still be big, but still doesn't mean that I've missed a likeness. You know, maybe it'll still look like them, which is always nice. That's always a nice thing. So that top of the ears are somewhere about in this area. And the bottom of the ears look like they're just lower than the nose. Now I think the nose needs to, it's going to have to, I think, come down a little bit. Because when I'm looking at his picture, I'm really seeing that come down. The ear looks like it comes to about down in here somewhere. Bring it out. Just putting in a rough spot for it. Again, we can correct all this later as we go along. Okay, so if that's that, this hairline kind of has a slight curve before it reaches up here. So before I establish the top of his head, I might want to just take a quick measurement again, compare the picture, how big the top of the hair is compared to something else. So so the hair line will say is a little higher than I had it. Put that up about in this area. Okay. I don't want to put too much down since this is all subject to change, but just say the neck, just to get a head onto something, we'll just say the neck is about here and the neck is going to be about right here. Okay. All right. How's it looking, everybody? It's hard to tell. Those of you who watched my last videos, you'll see that some of them, all of them at almost one point or another, is things change drastically from how I had them to something else. So I'm just trying to lay down some value in here. The hair is kind of making this general movement. Right. Kind of goes out of the picture. I can't really see it, so we'll have to just shape it. Okay, so I can't tell if it looks like him or not. That's one of my short-sightedness. It's hard to say at this point. So I just ask myself, does this look like a human being? Yeah, it's a face, looks like human. And then now we'll start to ask ourselves, where are we going to start? Where's the shading going to be? This is a side plane of the face, so this is going to be a little darker. We have this part here. Can't forget, this is all hair here. This is a side plane, so this is going to be darker up here. You can kind of see there's a bright spot on his forehead, right in this area. So this is going to be shadow. You could see right here on the brow. It's going to be a shadow here. So I'm kind of just basically shading around the bright spots. And then I'm just trying to keep in mind my knowledge of the human form, that these are side planes. Okay, so this is going to be darker. Under here is going to be darker. It's going to get lighter as it comes towards the cheek area. So right now I'm just kind of, this is still sort of the lay-in, lock-in phase for me. Starting to add more details just so I can lock in a likeness. And usually this is how my drawings work. It takes about an hour to just get this initial thing down. And then it takes me another another 1 to 2 hours to take something like this and really start refining it. So this is all going to be in shadow in here. Because this is still, if you think of a human skull, this is the eye socket, right? That's the eye socket. This is another eye socket. Okay. The nose has a shadow. Bottom plane of the nose. Notice I haven't even used an eraser at this point. That's a first. My other drawings I've already had erased a bunch of stuff. And this I'm kind of trying to do something a little bit different and just putting down a lot of values that I can. And then we'll just do a lot of erasing as we start locking it in, so to speak. So yeah, let me know again if you guys have any questions, whether it be about my drawing, whether it be about me. I'm an open book. This is portrait drawing number 4, so this is still early on in the channel, but see, I have a vision. I have this vision that this channel is going to be something that's going to be for everybody. That experienced artists might like to watch it just because, you know, you just like watching drawing. Because I do that. I like watching other artists. That people that want to learn are going to watch it because they're going to see, oh, that's how that picture was drawn. That's what he did here. That's his thought process on where to draw this feature and that feature and all that stuff. Like all those questions that we have as artists, I try and vocalize those in my thought process as I'm going through the picture, trying to vocalize my thoughts. You know, I'm looking at the ear here. I'm just trying to look at the where it might be darker, you know. Trying to look at shapes. Nothing really crazy here. Let's see, I could also probably just, as I'm stepping through, let you know more about me. For those who don't know me, I live in California. in the Central Valley in a city called Tracy, which is about maybe an hour east of San Francisco, an hour south of Sacramento. So, I was born in the Bay Area, San Jose. Alright, I think this nose still might have to come down just a hair. And never been to art school or anything like that, so that's one of the things I said in one of my other videos entitled Why This Channel is Different, this art channel is different. It's just basically saying that I am not going to be coming from a perspective of an educator, or I'm not going to be able to tell you the correct ways of doing certain things, because I never went to school for this. This is me drawing based on observation, based on what I've learned through watching other artists on YouTube and trying to communicate those things that I've learned and what helped me, trying to communicate that to you or to whoever's watching to maybe help you out, or to share what works for me, because if it works for me, then maybe it can work for you or whoever's wanting to learn. You know what I mean? Please say yes. It's also a challenge. Those of you who have done this kind of thing, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's a challenge to draw, talk, and film at the same time. If I wasn't doing this, I'd be listening to music, I'd be in a whole different zone, a whole different mental zone. And that's something that's very different for me, because it just puts my mind in a different spot here, trying to talk when my natural state, my natural reaction is to be quiet and to think. So, makes things pretty interesting. Okay, we're almost done. We're almost at the hour point. So, maybe what I'll do is I'll just start smudging everything in. Or before I do that, let me take a couple more measurements. Let me just get like at the eyebrows, like a width of the face, and compare that. It looks like the width at the eyebrows is about the eyes to the chin. So that looks like it's about correct. Okay. Oh, the other thing I learned about my last drawing, now that I'm thinking about this part, if you watch my last drawing, and if I remember, I'll put a link to it right now above the video, but it'll also be linked at the end. But watch my last drawing, portrait number 3, and you'll see how I had this girl looking one way, how I thought she was supposed to look, but it looked off. And then I started making little changes just in the hair, just erasing some of where the hair was, and just erasing the hair completely changed her face. So you forget how much of a likeness actually comes in getting the hair shape correctly. That was one thing I learned in that drawing. Hair shape, you might not think about it. You might think, oh, I got the face down. But if you're off on something even as simple as like the hair, it really, you can really tell the difference. Okay. I'm going to start using my blending stump here to just blend in this charcoal. And once we do this, then we'll be able to really start adding more values down. But this is going to give it that smooth look. And we're going to lose a lot of the lines we had before, but that's okay. We'll reestablish them through erasing, through adding them down again. So yeah, don't freak out about this stage. Look how dark his eye looks. Looks like he just came out of a fight. This is completely normal, this stage. And what I'm trying to do is take a lot of the white out of the paper too. So we're going to give him this basic skin tone color here. So I'm just blending it in. I'm trying to go from dark over to light, because I'm looking at the picture, I'm seeing his forehead. This is the light spot. So I'm taking the white out, but I'm still leaving that the brightest spot of his forehead. Okay, so again we're going to blend in all this for the eye socket. I am kind of losing, like I said, I'm kind of losing those lines I had, but I'm trying not to press too hard because I will be able to see them underneath and bring out the lines I had, reestablish those. This is just the stage where, like I said, we're kind of creating the mid-tone for the skin, but we could still kind of see where the dark spots are going to be. There's the nose. Yeah, he looks quite different now, doesn't he? Are going to be up in here. This is going to be all dark in here. All right, we are just about at that mark of my camera where I have to unload my video card and dump it out. Its value comes up here. And even in the facial hair, you'll notice there's light spots and dark spots. So I'm going to have to maintain those as well when we start refining this down. The light spots are going to be here of his face. Just a little darker in here. It's going to be a little darker over here. Here's the lips. Let me just shade in the neck. All right, so we'll stop there, we'll come back. All right, I'm back. So, now let's start trying to bring this drawing to life. My favorite part. We got the layout down. Everything seems to be relatively proportioned to each other. Now let's see if we can bring some life into this drawing. I think I'm gonna let's try zooming in to give you guys a better idea of what I'm doing. Okay, so let's see if we can work on eyes. So for this step, I'm going to basically be using my eraser, my smudge stick, and switching probably between a 2B charcoal pencil and a 4B charcoal pencil. So let's see if we can bring out the eyes a little bit. I'm looking at the picture and I'm trying to mimic the shape of the eyes. He's got these little reflective things in his eyes, but it's kind of hard to really bring that out. There's a darker spot for the pupil in here. And I'm looking at the drawing and it's got a shadow. There's a shadow right in here. Okay. I'm still a little hesitant debating on if the eyes are actually too big or not. But you know, I think maybe proportionally speaking to what the rest of the picture looks like, it might be okay. So we're just going to file that in the back of our minds and look at it in the future as we progress on. So what I'm going to try and do is look at the picture, see where I see lighter areas, and just kind of use my eraser to bring those areas out. So I'm not really trying to draw a bag under the eye, I'm trying to erase the light area above it. See what I'm doing? And then I'm making it really bright, so I'm probably going to blend it back in again. So I'll take my little blending stump, blend it a little bit so it's not as bright, but it's still brighter than right below it. Okay. I'm going to end up right where I'm doing here. I'm going to have to go in and reestablish this whole area with my pencil again. But there is a little, there's these little shapes. If you look closely, like right where I'm at, this is a little triangle area. Then it goes dark. Then there's this lighter area right here, sort of the upper eyelid area. Right on this line here, it's kind of light. And this is the sort of the cheekbone area. It's kind of light. So again, a lot of this is kind of guessing. Just sort of like how we guessed laying out the initial layout, I'm doing the same sort of thing here. I'm feeling that it's lighter in here. It's going to be darker around the nose. It's a little lighter here. Kind of blend it. Again, I don't want to draw a line necessarily right here where that little swoosh is, so I'll just use my eraser and kind of make the line by taking away some of the value. And see how it's sort of creating that bag under the eye, and then erase a little more above it. And it's slowly bringing that out. This is the part where it kind of feels like you're sculpting a little bit, chipping away at something. Little by little. Bringing something to life. See, there's like a white area up here. Knock it back a little bit. Bring it out a little more. So I'm going to be going a lot of this back and forth sort of thing. Blend this in a little bit above the eyebrow. All right. I don't know how loud it's going to get. My family just got home, so if we start hearing dogs barking, voices in the background, I'm just giving you a little heads up. That is what's happening. So around the tip of the nose here, it's catching some light. So we're going to take some out there. And then up here, light here. And again, that eye looks a little big, but I think we are going to just go with it for now, because we can always change the shape a little bit and refine that as we go along. And you'll see me jumping back and forth as we add value, take away value. This is all in shadow here. See, I'm noticing a little shadow comes out this way and it meets this here. And this is darker. Right up in here. This is darker. Okay. Just trying to reestablish the eye a little bit before I move on. So we'll leave it at that for right now. And this looks a little too white, so I'm going to knock that down just a little bit, because that part of the eye is never really that white. So let's jump over to the other side a little bit. Again, we're going to refine all this as we go along. As we start seeing more of the drawing, we'll start seeing where we need to reinforce all the shadows again. So I'm going to bring out a little bit of the white here of the eye. Bit on this side. And taking my pencil, we need to start reinforcing this eye on this side. feel like we got the shape of this eye down pretty good. There's a shadow in here. So it has this little sliver of light, but then the shadow comes right up to this upper eyelid where you could see it sort of has a hard line right up in here. See that? This hard line. I'm not pressing that hard, but I am making a line with the pencil. And then it looks like this is all shaded, but in shadow, I should say. Something like that. Reestablish the iris here. Inside the eye looks like there's almost like a A shape. A star shape. That's kind of a neat looking shape, actually. Alright, I'm not going to worry too much about that eye yet. Looks a little weird right now, kind of focused straight on the eye like we are. That's okay, because we will come back to it. I'm not going to worry about the eyelashes yet. I'm just looking at trying to look at lights and darks. So I know, even though there's going to be eyelashes here, this is a little lighter right here. I'm also going to have to lighten this area a little bit. Down over here is a little lighter. Now remember, the same with the under the eyes. I see there's this separation that comes out. So there's an overall shade here, and then but there's also this bag under the eye. So I'm trying to see the light shape just underneath. So by erasing that, it's going to create this little bag area. Up here is lighter in this triangle area. Lighter above the eyebrows. So again, this is like sculpting. You're just kind of using your eraser to pull things out. And yeah. We'll just step through the drawing like this. Okay, let me pull back a little bit. Oh, wrong way. All right. Let's just start getting a bigger picture of what's going on here. All right. So we know the eyebrows. Let's see, I'm noticing we need to make sure this is established here. See this part? This is going to come down to about right in there. Trying to notice the separation for the hair. Comes back like that. So don't lose this area. Does look like this is going to be a little lighter right in here. But not quite as light. I mean, not. This is going to be a little bit darker than that. So I'm going to put this value back in and pull it out a little bit. A lot of it's back and forth. A lot of back and forth stuff. And you don't really know how it's going to turn out at this stage. You're just... I mentioned this analogy in another video, but it's like, you know, when you have any task in front of you that seems monumental, like cleaning your house or your room or something, don't look at it as one whole task. Just break it down small. So I'm just trying to look at little things and hyper focus. Just stare at one part of the drawing and ignore everything else. Because if you can lock in one part of the drawing and make it, you know, try and simulate that as best you can, then it really locks it in, brings it home. So I don't want to lose this dark area right here. Keep that there. Okay. Let's move on from this eye for now. Where do we want to go? Well, we're going to move down from the face a little bit. Okay. Let's start bringing out the nose a little bit. So we got to remember this part of the nose is going to catch a little bit of light. And this part as well, right up in here. Now it's not as much light as the very top, so I kind of have to knock it back a little bit. Like that, very light pressure. because I want this part to stay the brightest. That little ball area of the nose. Alright. Looks like there is a little reflective light right along this part of the nostril. Again, I'm sort of erasing, blending, erasing, blending. And I do that back and forth until I get the right sort of value that I want. So we need to lighten this a little bit. Remember, the darker something is, the further back it is. So if you want to bring the nose forward, you have to take away the dark. So I'm trying to bring it forward just a little bit. Push this part back a little bit. But it can't be too much of a dark light transition, or else it'll make the nose look too flat or not proportioned correctly. You know, it's going to be dark underneath here. Right in here is going to be dark. Right in here. See, we're just adding a little hint where the nostril is. Just a little hint. It's going to help really bring that nose out as far as the shape, three-dimensionality of it. You know, erase a little bit up here. Shade a little bit furthest back, you know, like around the nostrils right here. We'll bring the nostrils forward. Okay, see that? The nose is starting to come out a little bit. And I'm just doing this with the light charcoal shading. I'm not using my pencil and trying to draw a line. You know, I want to reestablish this shape, make it a little bit rounder. Just very ever so slightly, like that. And then let me just put some shadow back in. If you notice, the bottom part of the nose is in shadow. All this part's in shadow. Okay. Knock this back just a little bit. Again, I want the brightest part to be up here. this area. I want that to be catching the most light. I do like his very sort of intense stare. That's one of the things I liked about this picture, wanted to hopefully capture. Okay. Just using my blending stump, kind of getting, I want to blend some of this charcoal that I see that's sitting on the paper. It's not part of the paper yet. I'm just trying to get that in there. So my thoughts are subject to change, but I am liking how this is looking so far at this stage. I'm liking the layout. The proportion seems to be not bad. And then once we really start locking this in, and I'll put a little background in there, it'll really start to look good. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this. If you are, please give a thumbs up on this video. I really appreciate it. I know this kind of video isn't for everybody, but this is the kind of video I like to watch. And I have to imagine that if I like watching something, chances are there's going to be other people who also like to watch that same sort of thing. And so that is why I do these real-time videos. Okay. Let me just put some more value here for the lips. So the upper lip is right in here. The facial hair is going to come down over the lip, right? Comes down. And I try and look at where the darker spots are on the facial hair. You know, your brain goes, oh yeah, it's all hair. Oh, that's true. But if you look closely, there's going to be lighter areas and darker areas. For example, right here, right in this area here, if you look at the picture, it's darker than this area over here. You see that? So I'm just trying to look at my values even in the hair. This might be the first person with a beard that I've drawn in a long time. Should be a good challenge for me to see how I can render the beard. Yeah, should be a good, fun little challenge here. Okay. Alright. Back up to the eyes a little bit. I want to establish, I don't want the eyes to look too big. You know, especially this eye is kind of squinty a little bit. It's not fully open, so that's why we got to pay attention to the upper eyelid. Okay, how's it looking? All right. It is darker over on this side. As it comes up. Alright, I'm trying to make this eye a little bit squintier. Is that a word? So by slowly kind of bringing the value on there, it's going to make his eye a little bit narrower. And same with underneath. I think right in here. That comes up sort of like this. There we go. And I think we need to reestablish in the eye again. Some of this, I think we're losing some of the eyelid area. So there's a separation in value right up here. Comes out ever so slightly. And then it comes back down. And it also has a little bit, comes out, comes back down. All right. And then if we reestablish the eyebrow, paying attention to this area between the brow and the hair of the eyebrow and the actual brow to the upper eyelid. I'm trying to be mindful of that, be mindful of this distance here, It's the little things, even me learning, that'll make a difference. I was saying it earlier in this video about how my last drawing, just by changing hair shape, really affected how the drawing looked. So even little things that you don't think about, like eyebrows, could make a big difference. So I think it's coming down a little too low right here. I got to bring this up. Bring this up. I feel like it's coming out further than I have it. Something like this. Lighten this just a little bit. All right. So see what I'm doing? I'm just trying to take one thing at a time. And I jump all over the place. I'm aware of that. That's just sort of my style. But if you just try and look at one thing, look at, this part of the eye only. Ask yourself, constantly ask yourself questions. Is this darker than that? No, this is lighter. Okay, is this darker than this? And if it is, or if it's not, then correct it. Use my blending stuff like this to kind of keep the values from being too bright. I want to keep the eyes rather in the dark shadow. Give the depth more face, more face. Did I just say that? Give the depth more face? Give the face more depth. But, by keeping the eyes darker than the nose, what are we doing? We're bringing the nose forward. We're telling the observer that the nose is coming out from the face. And very light strokes of the eraser. It doesn't look like much in person, but when I look back on the camera, I could see how much of a little difference just these little eraser marks make. Okay. Okay. What have we got? 13 minutes left until I have to clean off my memory card again. Okay. Let's look at the facial hair. Check the angle that's coming out from this nostril area. That's where it comes out. Comes out to about this part, and I'm always checking like where it is with the eye. These are all my thought processes. notice that there's a little less hair over here, and then over here it's darker hair. Just adding a little more to the face here. The shape of the face looked like it needed a little bit of an adjusting. Slowly starting to darken the values. This side as well. And as we start to add these darker values, it's really going to start bringing home this portrait. Now this side of the beard, right to about this area, it's obviously darker in the picture. Oop, I just realized I wasn't even on the camera. I'm sorry about that, guys. That's going to be a fun one for you guys to watch. All right. Sort of reestablishing the neckline. Be darker on the bottom of the chin. So I'm just looking at the dark spots in the beard. And I'm using my 4B pencil since that's a little bit softer, therefore a little bit darker than the 2B, which is what I use to try and get some of the value, the details. Okay, it's the back part of the head, so this is going to be a little darker here. All right, and I'm not going to worry so much about the hair yet, but I am doing this part because I think it's going to help with the face. All right. Well, I'm liking what we're seeing so far. This is definitely seems to be coming together a little bit easier than some of my last portraits, and that could simply be because, well, it could be a couple things. One, I've been practicing. Every time you draw, you get a little bit better. It could be because of the picture. I mean, he's looking basically straight on. So it's those, for me, a little bit easier. than trying to do something a little bit harder, say like, you know, 3/4 view, profile view, things like that. So I'm trying to look at the picture, see if I can get sort of his lips correct. All right. This part's all up in here. I gotta be careful now because I don't want to smear what I have. That's one thing about drawing with pencil is it doesn't smear as easy as if I did this all using that soft charcoal that I started the drawing with. However, it still can be smeared or smudged. Notice I'm kind of jumping all over the place. That's just how my brain works. That's also one of the reasons why I like doing time-lapse videos too, because then you kind of skip all this and you can watch how it transforms in the time-lapse, which makes it all the more interesting to see. Okay, so I'm noticing like this part of the eye needs to be darkened again. And we're gonna blend it back in. Right. All right, slowly getting there. Kind of wondering to myself what I'm going to do for the background, even though we're not quite there yet. Let me back it out a little bit. And you know, if we want to stick to how the picture looks, the picture has, you know, right about here up, it's going to be a darker background. So let me just do that. This should also bring the picture forward a little bit. Remember, the darker something is, or the lighter something is, the more forward facing it brings it. So if I make the background darker than him, he's going to really stand out. But I don't want it too dark because I'm going to make his hair dark. I want his hair to stand out. And this is going to be... Actually, let's do this. I'm going to go real light on this side. Right now it's all going to be about the same. But over here we will make this darker. Not quite as dark as his hair, but darker than this side. And we'll just see how that ends up looking. Try my finger out here. Just using my finger to rub this in. Kind of losing the ear a little bit, but we'll reestablish that as we go along. And then it's going to get this, so it's going to be a lighter tone. All right. So we're getting something on there. Now we can start reestablishing our lights and darks. Well, I'm sorry about that. My camera ran out of memory space, so while I was working on the hair, it just abruptly stopped. But don't worry, I'm back, and we are going to continue on this portrait. Now, most of the layout is already done, as you can see. I think he does resemble the picture that I'm looking at, so I'm fairly happy with that. And now, usually what I do in this stage is I'm going to start trying to smooth out the shading a little bit, try and smooth out the skin tone, and the way I'm going to go about doing that is using my kneaded eraser and slowly erasing and then blending back across again. So what I might do, let me see if I can find something here to work on. You know, for example, like up here on the forehead area, I'll probably use my kneaded eraser to kind of erase, and then use my blending stump to blend back in. and then erase a little bit and blend back in. So what I'm going to do is just kind of step through the drawing, and I'm going to start refining it. I'll probably do this part in time lapse, since the most important part, in my opinion, is getting this far. The drawing part, the lay-in part. And I'm going to go in a little time lapse. I'm not sure if I'll be back in real time or not, or if I'll just finish the drawing in time lapse. But at least this way, I'm not going to bore you with all the same repetitive things over and over again. So, yeah, let's time lapse for right now. And if you have any questions, comments, or anything, just leave it to me below. And if you like this kind of format where we do maybe 2 hours of drawing and then finish the rest in time lapse, let me know if you like that better, or if you would rather have 0 time lapse and have like a 3-hour video. I think that's a little bit long, but I will do whatever my subscribers want. So anyway, I'm going to focus now. We'll do this in time lapse. Not a super quick time lapse, but enough to just keep the video moving.
you.